Hello and welcome to Inside View. I'm your host, Joel Metzger, and joining me on the show today is Chris Nobles. He's the trucking coordinator for the Butte Fire recovery effort. Chris, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Joel.
Hey, it's really good to have you on the show. Now, I know that I work in San Andreas, and over the past few months, I've never seen more activity going through town than in the last few months, and that's really attributed to the cleanup effort. Is that right?
That's true.
So we could, in a way, say that you're responsible for all those trucks that were coming back and forth.
Well, it's not just me. It's a whole team.
It's a whole team.
Not just me at all.
Now, in recent weeks, it seems like that activity has kind of dropped off somewhat significantly. Are we pretty much through with the main cleanup effort, or do we still have a ways to go?
We're pretty much done with the bulk of it. As of last Monday was kind of our last big official day. We started back today, actually, with, I think we have 3 more ROEs with writer entries for sign-ups, and we're still doing some rescrapes, and the erosion control is going behind us.
All right. Well, that's really good to hear. I know there are, hundreds of different sites that needed to be cleaned up, and I'm really thankful that those sites aren't being washed down into our watersheds and water supply and contaminating the earth. And I want to really tell viewers all about this process in detail. But before we get there, let's hear a little bit about you. Take us all the way back to where you grew up.
Well, I grew up in Texas, of course, but met my wife in Vallecito, moved out here. We've been together since 97, so 99 I've been living out here, working locally at Carson Hill Rock, Sutton Trucking. So you were in Texas, and did you meet your wife? Was she out in Texas? She was living out there at the time.
Oh, she was living out there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what were you doing out in Texas before you met her?
I was actually a professional rodeo cowboy and team roping at the time.
No way!
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really cool. So you were doing roping, and then were you also doing other events? Or?
No, just mainly team roping.
Team
on
roping.
A professional level.
And how does that work exactly? I'm not super familiar with team roping.
Well, you have a header and a heeler partners. Basically, the header ropes the steer by the horns, turns it, and the heeler comes in and ropes the feet. Time stops once the horses get faced and the ropes are tight.
Okay, so you have to be really good at teamwork and getting everything synced up perfectly?
Horses, too, got to be good.
All right. Did you have some success with that?
Yeah, I did pretty good. I got away with it for about 10 or 12 years.
That wasn't how you impressed your soon-to-be wife, was it?
Maybe.
All right. Okay. So how did she convince you to leave everything in Texas and come from the West?
We were traveling at the time. Wasn't stationary nowhere because we went from Florida to Washington. Come out here every spring for all the spring rodeos, and liked the area, enjoyed the area and the people, so just kind of settled in. Once we had kids, we settled down here.
Okay.
Went to put our kids through the local schools.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, gosh, it is a beautiful area. And so her family kind of has lived in Vallecito for a long time, is that right?
Oh, yeah, I think the family goes back over 100 years here.
Wow, okay. So you settled down, and when did you decide, okay, I'm not going to do this team roping thing anymore? Was that soon after you settled down? Or?
A little soon after, and then I had kids, and then had bills and responsibilities, basically put a halt to that.
Okay. I mean, do you ever miss it?
Sometimes I miss the traveling, the camaraderie, friends, and stuff like that, but I've seen a lot, so I'm thankful for all that.
Okay. So what is it about this community that you've enjoyed so far since you've been here?
It's a big family. Everybody's kind to each other. Do something for your neighbors, just like we're neighbors. We
are neighbors. We just figured that out. What do you think we are? Just maybe a few blocks away. So,
maybe.
Yeah.
Just across the creek.
That's right. I'll have to have you over for a beer sometime.
There you go.
So you're in Vallecito, you're settled down, and did you soon work for the Sutton Company, or was that like a pretty quick job that you got with them?
Yeah, I started driving a truck actually for them in 99, and then I think maybe 2002, 2003, I moved into the office, into the sales side of things.
Okay, so driving these large trucks, do you have to have a special certification or anything to allow you to, what do you have to have for that?
You have to have basically a commercial driver's license through DMV, physicals, and a good clean record.
And so what kind of truck did you drive for Sutton?
I started off with the regular 10-wheeler dump trucks and moved all the way to the 9-axle trailers to moving D11 dozers and such.
Oh, wow. Okay. And is that a significantly more challenging truck to drive when you have that kind of a load behind you?
Yeah, you're going from a 46,000 pound load to a 180,000 pound load.
Wow.
For being 18 feet long or 105 feet long from bumper to bumper.
Did you ever have some close calls with those big boys? Or?
Oh, quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are these the ones that you'd have to see, like the cars before and after with the warning lights?
Pilot
and
cars.
all that? Pilot cars.
For
okay.
sure.
Is
Even
that
empty, even empty, you have to have a pilot car up here in the hills.
What is it that makes that necessary? Is it the width or length or?
It's all of the above: width, length, height.
Okay.
Depending on how wide it is, if you have to have one in the front or back, or just one in the front.
Okay. So you've driven a lot of trucks, and then how many years would you say until you moved into the office and started doing that side
I
of
had
the business?
probably 4 or 5 good years.
4 or 5 years.
in the
okay.
truck.
And then when you moved in the office, what was it that you were doing there?
Dispatching trucks, getting all permits for oversized loads, to working at Carson Hill and doing outside sales for the rock too, plus the trucking that goes with the rock for rock sales.
So the way Sutton works is they have the quarry, so they have the raw material. Do you crush it there as well to different sizes? Okay, and then you sell it and deliver with your trucks?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I had written about Sutton expanding into like concrete delivery as well. How many years ago was that now?
Maybe 8.
8 years ago?
8 years ago, I think it might have was when we first got our first batch plant.
How is that going so far with that? I guess it's still a new
Going real
business.
good.
Okay.
It's a product everybody usually has to have, especially in the rebuilding phases or the additional phases.
Okay, so even through kind of the housing downturn, that was still a good business to be into? Okay.
Especially if we make our own products, sand and rock for the concrete for right there. Don't have to import it.
Got it. So that gives you an advantage then. Okay, so did you pretty much stay in the office throughout those years doing, or did you then take another position, or what was your next step in the Sutton company?
Well, we started up some ventures for 2012 in South Texas, some rock pitch, which we still have down there, which I'm a partner in on that. It's in the oil and gas fields, which that oil price kind of went down, so the plays kind of went down, so it gave me an opportunity to take on this position here at the Butte Fire.
Okay, and so that's kind of what I was working up to is when the Butte fire happened. Well, first of all, where were you when you first saw the smoke, and kind of what went through your mind?
I was actually in Texas.
Oh, you were. Oh, so you didn't see the first. Okay, you were working on that other company down there.
Right.
All right. So did you end up coming back, or were you in Texas when the whole fire took place?
So basically, I was out there for the whole fire. I think I come maybe 5 or 6 days after the fire was contained.
Did you ever think, my house might be in the path of this thing, and worried about your family?
We were. I'm sure you were the same, being in Vallecito. So it was. I don't know if it was 8 to 10 miles away the bird flies from us.
Yeah, I know that we had a lot of family in our house, and then once it started getting toward Murphy's, we had them moved to somewhere even safer just in case, and it ended up getting stopped. But yeah, so you were stressing out a little bit out there.
Sure.
Okay.
I felt pretty safe. We have irrigation, pastures, so it was still green. We don't have much around our actually house, but the area is heavily wooded around there.
Yeah. So after the Butte fire was put out, obviously, 70,000 plus acres, hundreds of homes burned. How do you go about starting a recovery effort, and what piece did you end up playing, and how did that come to be?
We had Sutton Trucking got approached from Cal Waste to the opportunity to take on the trucking side of the Butte Fire because they have the trucking and disposable of the job. They approached us and asked us, and of course we were willing to try to help out and do what we could for being the local side because they wanted to keep it as local as possible. And
Cal Waste, is that Dave Veracruzza? Vaccarezzi. I never get his last name right. Okay. And he actually took over that company not too many years ago, and has now been operating in Calaveras, and it seems like he's been expanding and doing a great job. So is he working with FEMA or with the county? How did he get that contract?
He basically doing the work for Sukut Construction is the prime.
What is that?
Sukut, S-U-K-U-T.
Sukut, okay.
Sukut is the prime. They do a lot of emergency work for Cal Recycle. Cal Recycle being the state.
Okay.
So they're hired under Sukut. Sukut goes to Cal Recycle.
Okay, and so then Cal Waste then got the job from them, and then they subcontracted with you
on the trucking side.
On the trucking side. Okay, so once that deal was signed, what did that mean for you, and how were you told that you were going to be running this whole thing?
It was a few interviews, discussions, just a table discussion with Dave. He's a handshake kind of guy.
Okay.
So it started out with that, and then it just went in more what we could provide for the job as far as trucking, local trucks as much as possible, and then expanding the footprint outside the county from there.
Were there any other companies that really had Sutton's capabilities to handle a project of this size?
Sure there is.
Okay.
Maybe not up here in the hills as much because we've been a broker, I think they've been 30, 35 years probably up here being a local broker. But sure there's a few other companies, maybe not as much as in Calaveras, but you could go to Amador, or especially Stanislaus, Stockton area, the Valley. You could find some trucking companies down there that could do it.
But Sutton's really the largest in Calaveras County?
I would think so.
Okay. All right, so it kind of made sense for Sutton to be the local partner. And did you appreciate the fact that they're trying to stay local? I mean, they didn't have to do that, I imagine. They could have gone anywhere. Really.
Sure.
Okay. So when did you start running the trucks?
It was October 12th, I believe, was our first day of getting onto the sites.
Okay. And how many trucks would you say roughly, on that date started to go out? Had you arranged everything in advance and said this is our go date, or did you just get as many trucks as you could and start running them?
Well, Sukit kind of planned it out, and we started out small just so we could grow from the plans in the office, all the way to the laborers, operators, to the equipment getting moved out, to the trucks, and we might have started up with 20 to 30 trucks and then built from there.
20, 30 trucks. And are we talking mainly kind of a dump truck sort of?
That was mainly just because of the access roads up here on this fire. Nothing larger could really get in these private driveways, which private driveways aren't meant for big trucks to go up and down. So that's what we had to basically conquer, was getting in and out of the driveways and being safe on it.
Okay, so walk me through and walk the viewers through the process of a lot being cleaned up. You can't just go out there and clean it up, right? There has to be a paper trail and permissions and all of that. Is that right?
A lot of plans, a lot of planning department, a lot of office help that really made it happen. But from what I know of it, you have a company that goes in, addresses the site, sees what's on the site as far as it's a slab, it's a well house, it's 5 cars, has it on plan, so they give that ROE, right of entry, to a supervisor to go do the work. So then you bring in the equipment, the excavator and skid steer, water truck, of course, is going to be a normal on the site. So they clean up, separate the ash as best they can, separate the concrete, separate the steel from it, and then the trucks basically come in from there. There's air monitoring going on, the whole time. They test the sites before we get there for asbestos, for mercury, for any other hazardous materials before we get to that site. So once that's cleared, then we can come in, separate the materials out, off-haul that, and then they'll come back and test it behind us to see if there's anything left there.
So you said an excavator. So if I'm thinking of that, that's like something that looks like a really big machine with a big bucket on it. Is that what you're looking at? On tracks. Okay, so that's a pretty powerful machine that can really do a lot of damage if it needs to. Okay, and then you said a skid steer. What kind of machine?
Skid steer. People know them as bobcats.
Okay.
Just a little small mini loader. You can call it that way if you want.
Okay, and then is the water truck to provide dust control? Or?
Water truck's for anything, so it always stays moist, so there's nothing airborne, ash, and everything else. And you might have seen the guys in the suits, so they're full respirator, Tyvek suits, and all the way down to the feet, basically, just because of hazardous materials could be in there.
So does this mean the people running all these machines were completely clothed in these protective?
Inside the cab, still respirators and everything else.
So it looked like a hazmat scene, because I guess it
was. We treated it as a hazmat site.
Okay, wow. I don't know if I've ever seen someone running an excavator in a hazmat suit, but that's what was going on. Okay. Roughly how long would like an average home site cleanup take, do you think?
It depends, of course, site by site, but I bet on average out of the 800 we've done, it's maybe 2 days.
A couple days. Okay, so once everything's cleared you're going to go in there and get that work done pretty quickly then. Okay. And how many trucks, like how many loads could you get in a day if you're going to go and get a load from that and then go dump it? Could you get 2, 3 in, or?
If it was concrete going to Carson Hill, you could maybe make you 3 loads round trips. The ash soil going to Fort Landfill in Manteca, 2 loads would be a day on that. And steel with Stockton to the Port of Stockton, you could get you 2, maybe 3 loads on that.
Okay, and so all this is being separated on the site, and then each dump truck is only getting one type of material. You're not getting multiple steel, concrete, ash mix. Okay.
No. Concrete's recycled, and of course the metal it's all recycled.
There's a value to that.
Sure.
Okay. All right, and so are you the one who is coordinating, okay, we have this site, we need this many trucks, these are the materials we have on,
No.
or you have people under you?
It's the supervisors of the construction company itself just reporting to me how many trucks they basically need, where they need them at, and what time they need them.
Okay, and you said you started with 20, 30 trucks, somewhere in there. When you worked up to full number of trucks, what would we be looking at?
We were averaging 230 to 250 trucks a day.
230 to 250? Mm-hmm. And is that loads per day, or is that separate trucks?
That's trucks, averaging. We would get up to 450, 480 loads a day disposed of, dumped.
That's just mind-boggling. I mean,
It
that's
is.
so many trucks. Well, now I understand why, sometimes I would sit behind a stop sign for maybe 20 minutes, wait, especially, I guess when they were coming down with their second load in the evening, huh?
Right.
So, 800 plus sites?
I think we're up to 820 cleared right now.
820. Was there any kind of a charge to the homeowner for this that you know of?
No. I know the plans work with insurance companies, that people that did have insurances, they would work through insurance company, and whatever they didn't cover, that's where the state picked it up from there.
Okay. So, as long as you signed up and gave this right of entry, was that it? Then this would all be taken care of based on these emergency funds that were made available.
Yes.
And did those emergency funds, they paid directly for the services that you were providing them? So, and was that from FEMA then, or Cal OES?
I'm not sure on how that works. I know FEMA's picking up a lot of the ash products and stuff like that, and that goes from Cal Recycle, which is basically the state of California.
Okay.
And OES, which is Office of Emergency Services.
So I'm a complete novice when it comes to hauling things, but like if I wanted to haul a load of dirt from a Butte Fire residence down to Manteca, what am I looking at in terms of the cost of that, would you say?
Just for trucking?
Just for trucking, yeah. Just to haul. I mean, it's got to be expensive. These are huge trucks, a lot of gas. You have to pay the driver.
Trucking, you're probably $500 to $600 a load for trucking.
Okay, so $500 to $600.
Then you have the disposable on the other top side.
So these emergency agencies, it was significantly costly to clean up all these sites then?
Yes.
Okay. But there's an upside to this, and that's something that I think is kind of cool, because not all disasters are bad all the way around, right? This brought a lot of economic activity into this county. So can you speak to that?
Well, I know all the hotels from Murphy's to Jackson to Sonora were pretty much full, booked up, besides Worldmark, local rentals, houses. That's just housing. And then you have all the fuel that all these trucks have, plus all the pickup trucks, the crew trucks and stuff like that are fuel, besides the restaurants, grocery stores, all the way around. Hard value stores, Cinder's Market, Hunt Brothers, tire shops, everything like that just falls along with it every day.
So all these people who came to the county to do this cleanup, they were spending money, pretty much anywhere you look.
Everywhere.
The restaurants, the stores, hardware stores.
CVS
everywhere.
to everything.
Okay, and they were staying in the hotels, so you're getting all of that transient occupancy tax coming into the county, and so local businesses actually saw a boom, you might say.
A huge boom for the last 6 months.
For the last 6 months. It's just, it's such a juxtaposition to see that all this tragedy, and then yet you also have, some economic positives coming out of it.
Plus
too.
all the local help, all the local help willing to work could find a job pretty easily, from a truck driver to a laborer to a flagger to anything. If somebody wanted to work, they had the opportunity to work, and I'm going to say a lot of it was local help.
What could someone, let's say, make per hour, from the bottom to the top with that local help?
Hey, that all depends. A lot of the construction site was union operators, union laborers, so that's a different scale.
Okay.
Truck drivers, it's basically if you owned your truck, what you could make, or if you drove for somebody else, what that owner of that truck was willing to pay you on that.
But would you say that these were good jobs that
Really
people
good
could
job.
pick up? It wasn't like minimum wage or anything
Oh,
like
no.
that?
No, they were good wages. And the thing is up here, as you're probably aware of, we're seasonal work up here. So say from November through March or April, there's not much construction goes on for construction help just because of the rain season, and you don't open up jobs too many when it's going to rain sooner or later, hopefully. But working from October through March is really unusual for constructions and trucking up here in the hills.
Speaking of the rainy season, could these operations move forward when we had some of those large storms that came through?
There was very few days we actually shut down completely. Very, very few. And that was only after we maybe got 3 to 4 days of rain in a row. Maybe that third or fourth day we shut down. But that first and second day of rain, they worked through it.
They just worked right on through it. Okay. All right. So the cleanup operations aren't necessarily hindered by that. I guess if the water trucks are spraying down the dust anyway, the rain's kind of helping out with that process.
You just let your water trucks off for the day, if it was raining all day.
All right. All right. What about if you had to cross any kind of seasonal creeks or anything like that? Were there any issues?
There still is. I'm going to not say issues, just things we have to take the right procedures with, which we haven't done those. So April 15th into the rain season, I think there's 13 sites that are still springtime sites where we cannot get to them until Fish and Games releases us after the rain season's over.
Okay, so if you had to cross a certain
dry creek bed or with water flowing through it, it's basically considered the same.
So in a way, then, those sites still have these toxic chemicals and materials kind of lying on the ground, and I guess when it rains, some of those could potentially leach out into the watershed, and that's kind of a shame that you couldn't get to them.
Well, we just can't cross the watershed creeks.
Okay.
Basically, trucks, equipment, and everything else has to cross those, and not necessarily the house is on a watershed. You just have to cross those to get to that house.
Right. So you're knocking pretty much all those out now, or are you going to have to wait even longer?
We're still going to wait,
okay.
I think.
As long as those streams are running, then you can't get through there. So when it's all said and done, do you know what the final number of homes or cleanup sites will be? Are we going to be above 900?
There's still a few coming in. I think it might be around 850. Don't quote me on anything, but I know we're at 820 right now, so it might be 850 or so.
Now, is it going to be a big thing to scale all this back, or have you already told a lot of these drivers, okay, we just don't have additional work? Can you pretty much handle it with local trucks at this point?
Oh, that's what I'm doing. Today I worked 11 trucks.
11 trucks?
Yeah.
And were those all Sutton trucks? Or?
No, but from Angels Camp, maybe 15-mile radius around there is where they come from.
Okay, so you also are, just like Cal Waste hired Sutton, you're prioritizing the locals as well whenever possible.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Were there any safety incidents during the time?
No, knock
Really?
on wood.
Wow.
No major. There was a few slips, trips, or falls, as they call them, in the safety side of things, but no major accidents. There's a few bumpers that got bent, but it was a safety-oriented, maintained job. Safety was always the first priority on this job.
What was the biggest challenge for you as the person who was actually coordinating this entire effort?
Keeping my truck safe.
So that
going
was-
in and out of driveways, steep driveways, concrete driveways when it's freezing in the mornings, there's frost on it, it's slippery. Just trying to keep them safe was the hardest.
But it sounds like
everyday thing.
You were able to do that. So
well, we did. It wasn't me.
Okay.
It was a team.
And that's another point that I was hoping you'd speak to is it takes a team to make something of this magnitude go smoothly. And what was your experience? I mean, were people willing to work together, or did they all have their own kingdoms?
No, I've never been in a project. Well, not too many people probably have on magnitude of this level, but Suka Construction and the team they brung in with them really made it feel just not like a team. It was a family effort to do the cleanup, and safety was high priority on everything. There's safety guys everywhere, just watching for safety, especially going in and out of these back roads and Jesus Maria and Whiskey Slide and Ponderosa. It was slow, no speedings tolerated, no misbehaviors tolerated. It's not 2 chances, it's 1 chance, and that's it.
So if anyone violated those regulations that you'd laid out, that's the end of your time. Okay. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have to tell someone you're not coming back? Or
quite a few.
Okay, so you really laid down the law then.
We had to.
All right. Why did it feel like so much of a family? Like, why was it different this time, do you think?
Because you're helping families, I think, the whole thing. You see people, when we first started, they're living in tents on their property. They have a porta potty for their bathroom on their property. Some of them had brung in a camper to live on their property, and it was a disaster. So you see that, and they just needed help.
How did it impact you personally to see this much, suffering and tragedy?
It's impacted me where I learned something every day. I've seen something new every day, and I'll take it with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could have handled it, honestly, going up there. And I don't think you become really desensitized to seeing someone who used to have a beautiful home living in a tent, with a porta potty. That just seems so unfair in a way, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. They didn't have no other place to go a lot.
Yeah. One other thing I want to ask you about is, these roads probably haven't seen 300 dump trucks before. What was there an impact on the roads?
Of course.
So do you think Public Works is going to have to address some challenges?
And they have been. They've been maintaining them throughout the project, and they're going to have to do something with them pretty soon, especially, the logging's going on now, so I don't know if they're going to do it now just because they're going to get tore up again. So if they wait till all the logging's done and all the heavy traffic, which then there's going to be building, which has already started, then they're going to have to rebuild them. So
maybe they should wait until all this heavy equipment has kind of done its thing and then put some new.
And I think that's what they've been doing. They've just been putting a Band-Aid on it since we started it.
Okay. So what's next for you? I mean, this has been your life for the last 3-4 months.
I'm going to take a break for a little while, maybe finish this job out if it is 2 or 3 weeks from my position, and then take the kids and the family somewhere for a little while.
All right, and this wasn't just weekdays, right? You were doing this on
a lot of it was 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So man, you must be exhausted, huh?
Yeah, it's slowed down now though. So we got a 5-day Easter break, which is a catch up. And now since it's been slower, it doesn't feel near as hectic as it was, of course.
Okay. Well, Chris, thank you for what you did. You did a great job, and we really appreciate your work on it.
Thank you, Joel.
And thank you for joining me on this edition of Inside View. I'm your host, Joel Metzger, and I hope you join me next time.